Hello. We are talking about risk management and what you can do as a real estate agent to protect your business. And here are a few suggestions created by the National Association of Realtors. And the first point is know the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics and Standards of Practice and uphold them. That is a document I would suggest reviewing often, even though by law we're only required to do an ethics renewal of 4 hours every 3 years. It might behoove you to touch base with that document and educate the agents around you on it as well on a more regular basis. If you're not a member of the National Association of Realtors, this might be a document that you want to review as well, and create your own version, such as maybe even just a mission statement or a one-page point of behavior that you think is important to uphold. So create some standards and uphold them. Take your continuing education classes in your field. Stay up to date on real estate laws in your state. Again, you're only required to do law updates every 3 years for a mandatory of 8 hours. But in those 3 years, oftentimes we have some law updates. So please be sure to check your emails from the Professional Licensing Bureau when they send out any updates to administrative rules or to the Iowa Code, so that you're not breaking the law in the meantime before you renew your license, of course. Next up is keep your client's interests at the forefront of everything that you do. This is really a big part of the Code of Ethics as well. And it's a part of our fiduciary responsibility of loyalty, which means we put our client's interests above our own. No amount of commission strays us from that standard. Next up, we have document any issues you notice with the property you're showing. Date and initial the document and ask your client to do the same. I'm going to say in general, document all of your communication throughout a transaction. If there is something that you notice with the property, I think it's best, and it is according to the Code of Ethics, you let the listing agent know if there's something amiss that you think is not quite right. But do document, and while I know our emails are super smart, that you can go back and find a conversation very easily, I do still suggest printing a conversation to PDF and then storing it with your transaction file in the folder such as .loop or DocuSign, Form Simplicity, whichever program you might use. Direct clients with legal and financial questions to the professionals in those fields. Again, you are not an attorney. You are not an estate planner. You are not an accountant, electrician, a home inspector. And while you will have a lot of knowledge around these things, do make sure that they are getting answered by the folks who are in the field to actually legally answer them as well. If a client says, I think I want to talk to my attorney about this, you let them talk to their attorney about this. Provide the source, don't be the source. This is one I threw in last minute. And what this means is oftentimes we get clients' questions and we want to be very diligent, provide good customer service. And so we answer it. And we maybe call the zoning commission on their behalf and ask a question. Or we call a school district is another example and ask a question. That is great. Obviously, I encourage you to have good customer service. Yet at the same time, that really puts you on the hook for the information. So while it's valuable for you to call and ask those questions and get the information, I would suggest that doing a service to your clients and letting them call and hear it from the source themselves could protect you in the long run. That way, if the zoning of the plot behind them where they bought new construction or something like that, for example, changes, They understand how zoning works. It didn't just come from you. Always be upfront and honest in your communication with clients, and disengage with partners or associates that may not be as transparent. This is a great example that if you've got a seller who says, I've had water in the basement, but I don't want to put it on the disclosure, it might prevent a buyer from writing an offer. Now, we all know that that's a material adverse fact, and it doesn't matter now whether they write it on the seller disclosure or not. You got to disclose it by law to all parties anyway. However, I think a good attorney, again, I'm not one, but I've heard several in other courses say, just don't take that listing. That is really your best line of defense, is if you know someone isn't being straight up honest about one thing, there's a chance that that's going to be a habit. And it's probably good to just walk away from that listing or that buyer. Review contracts with clients carefully to make sure that they understand what they're signing, and that you understand what they're signing as well. And make sure you use the appropriate disclosure forms and use your broker's forms as well. Now, what this means is, I know a lot of our associations have gone to standard contracts. For example, the Des Moines Area Association of Realtors has a standard purchase agreement that they use now. And I know it's a lot of work to put that together. A lot of agents that are members of DBAR are using that, which is great. However, brokerages still have the right to use their own purchase agreements. And of course, that's okay. But do review things carefully, because even though you might have something standard that you feel like you have memorized, we of course want to read the details that were handwritten in there. But especially if you're seeing a document that's different than your standard, make sure that you read that in detail. Next up is maintain good security practices. And we could probably do an entire class on just data. In fact, part of the pre-broker series is a 6-hour course just on data security and management. And I will say, I think having strong passwords is good for you. I do think they make a good point on this slide about updating software. I do think that another good thing for you is when you're out and about working, because we can write offers now at the airport or a hospital or while we're on vacation, right? Which is great that we've got that convenience. However, if you're not on a secured internet source, it's a public source, you maybe could be open to a breach of security. And while we don't keep a lot of personal information, such as social security numbers, we do keep a few of those things on the seller side, and we want to protect those and do our best. Last but not least, pay your errors and omissions insurance every year by December 31st. Pay it, and please make sure that there's no gaps. In fact, stop this video when we're done and go to your calendar and set a reminder for the rest of your career that the week of Thanksgiving, for example, you pay that errors and omissions insurance. That way you're not putting it off to the last minute. And you ensure that it's getting taken care of. That is all for what you can do to help prevent yourself from any security issues or others that might arise, so that you're not in court.